I feel at this point in time in my life that I'm just barely hitting my prime, which is crazy.
No one has fallen from grace quite like Tony Ferguson. Once hailed as one of the most dominant fighters on the UFC roster, who was on a 12-fight winning streak back in 2019, and even held the interim lightweight championship. But now in 2023, Tony Ferguson is now on a 6-fight losing streak, 39 years old, and has taken a lot of damage in his career. More recently, Bobby Green submitted Tony Ferguson with an arm triangle at UFC 291. Bobby Green locked in the submission in the third and final round. Tony Ferguson decides not to tap, but instead goes unconscious. This loss marks the 6th straight defeat for Tony Ferguson and the 4th in a row by finish. For a fighter who once held the longest win streak in the UFC and thrilled fans with his exciting fighting style, seeing him get beat up over and over again is pretty sad. All his years of hard work have seemed to crumble in front of him. Now, I would say the real fall of Tony Ferguson really began back at UFC 249 when the 5th Khabib Nurmagomedov bout was canceled by the pandemic. Justin Gaethje would step in as a replacement. What followed was one of the most one-sided beatdowns in UFC history. Ferguson looked like a mere shadow of his former self. He was outmatched and outstruck throughout the fight, and ultimately, he suffered a crushing TKO loss, losing his interim title in the process and taking a hell of a lot of irreversible damage. So what is next for Tony Ferguson? Hopefully retirement. At 39 years old, a title comeback is unfortunately unrealistic. Tony Ferguson has issued a statement after his submission loss this past weekend. As the fight began, I was in the zone, flowing and feeling confident. Bobby knew the direction of the fight, and I believe he knew what he was doing when he poked my eye. He has a big history of moves like this. It significantly impaired my vision, making it difficult to see clearly out of my eye. Despite this eye poke, I never considered stopping the fight. Although the doc wanted to, throughout my career I've always pushed through challenges and never given up, and this time was no different. He continued, unfortunately in sports, setbacks like this are part of the journey. While I won't use the eye poke as an excuse for the outcome, I know for a fact I have more to give. Moving forward, I plan to work closely with Dana, Hunter, and my entire team to assess what's next. I'd like to take a moment to say thank you to my wife, my family, and my fans. Your support means the world to me, and it's what drives me to keep pushing and striving for greatness. Thank you for being by my side through the highs and lows of this sport that I love. Eye appointment tomorrow, some recovery, and back at it. Love you all. Bobby Green did respond to Tony Ferguson regarding the eye poke. He appeared on the MMA Hour with Ariel Helwani, and this is what he had to say.
Tony said I intentionally poked him. You know, like there's a narrative that I intentionally poked him, and then that threw his momentum off, and then from there, the fight just went my way. I disagree with that. I felt I was doing so much more than that the entire fight. And so what I'm saying is, if you argue with a crazy man, you're probably crazy, you know?
So before this fight took place, Tony Ferguson actually believes he's just now entering his prime.
Be real with you guys, it's always been cool. And then I feel at this point in time in my life that I'm just barely hitting my prime, which is crazy.
Now, obviously, this was before losing to Bobby Green. I would hope Tony Ferguson doesn't believe he's in his prime. He's 39 years old on a 6-fight losing skid. He's taken a lot of damage throughout his career, and he didn't look all that impressive with his fight versus Bobby Green. He looks slow, he looks stiff. I mean, Bobby Green is a good fighter, but if Tony Ferguson was in his prime, he wins that fight convincingly, in my opinion. So who knows what's next for Ferguson? He says he will have a meeting with Dana White to assess what's next. And I know Dana White will try to convince him to retire, but I do realize that Tony Ferguson still wants to fight. But a title comeback seems like a distant dream. Tony Ferguson's story serves a reminder of the unpredictable nature of sports and the immense sacrifices these athletes make to pursue their dreams. Despite his recent losses, his past achievements, and the passion he brought to the octagon will forever be etched in the hearts of fans who once cheered him on in his prime. But let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section down below. Do you think Tony Ferguson should go ahead and retire? Would you like to see him fight one more time? And as always, please be sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed already, and watch this video next.